opposition leader, that is Tendai Biti, who leads a constitutional defenders forum that is also backed by the war veterans of the liberation struggle. Today he has issued a statement calling for the Zimbabweans to join in defending the constitution of Zimbabwe and of also protest as well as demonstrations actually included in the process of standing firm in terms of defending the constitution of Zimbabwe. Blessed Keza Tendai Biti rather, beginning to his press briefing, he started by honoring Blessed Keza through a minute of silence with other fellow war veterans as well as people who were actually who attended that press briefing. I think I will actually make you to listen to some of the statements that Tendai Biti said. Greetings and welcome to your lovely channel, the Hlonipani Global News. If you're watching us for the very first time, please do remember to press the red or black subscribe button so that next time when we beam live, you become the very first one to watch us. So let's listen to Tendai Biti. I will actually be playing the audio very soon, whereby he is vowing to defend the Constitution.
Those values and principles I stand here as the convener of the Constitutional Defenders Forum to give our response to the publicized amendment number 3 of 2026 that seeks to make major amendments to the Constitution of Zimbabwe. But before I do so, I shall be pleased, comrades, if we can just stand for a minute in honor of one of us, in honor of the passing on of a gallant son of Zimbabwe, Comrade Blessed Bombshell Gesa, and all those who passed during the liberation struggle. To be just stand for a minute. We as the Constitutional Defenders Forum note with grave concern the formal introduction of a raft of proposed constitutional amendments presented to the first cabinet sitting of the year on the 10th of February 2026. What was previously dismissed as speculation is now regrettably the official position of the government of the day. In our view, the proposed amendments pose an existential threat to the existence of Zimbabwe as a nation state as we have known it for the past 45 years. The proposed amendments threaten to tear apart our beloved country into smithereens. The proposed amendment amounts to an overthrow, an illegal, unconstitutional coup d'etat on the people and constitution of Zimbabwe. Regrettably, one that is of much greater extent than the military coup that we saw and witnessed in November of 2017. The of liberation was fought. Many of the people you see behind me are veterans of the liberation struggle that carried guns and sacrificed their youth to cross mountains and rivers to fight for the liberation and the decolonization of Zimbabwe. They are not here by accident. They are here because the proposed amendments are an insult, are a betrayal, are a selling out of the ideals, values, and the principles of the liberation struggle. One of those values and principles was the important concept of one man, one vote, one woman, one vote, which is now being scattered and assaulted by the proposed constitutional amendments. The 2013 constitution was a negotiated, people-driven process that culminated in a constitutional referendum on the 21st of March 2013, a referendum in which 93% of the population voted, 93% of those who voted in the referendum, amounting to 3 million Zimbabweans, voted to assent to a constitution. In assenting to that constitution, the people of Zimbabwe agreed to certain basic structures, certain basic foundations, certain basic pillars of that constitution. One of the basic pillars of that constitution was the demolition of the principle and concept of an imperial president. We said no to an imperial president. One of the principles and basic structures of that constitution was the principle of free, fair, and regular elections. And the constitution itself defined a basic pillar of that constitution as regular elections that ought to and that were supposed to take place within 5 years. One of the basic pillars of that constitution was that there will be power rotation, that a man and a woman had no right to rule Zimbabwe for years, that a term limit was 5 years, and if people liked you, they would give you another 5-year term to make a maximum of 10 years. That term limits were also imposed. Those term limits were also imposed on other key members of the executive, the Commissioner General of the Army, the Commander of the Army, the Commissioner General of the Zimbabwe Prisons and Commission Service is also subject to those term limits. So term limits are a foundational core component of the Constitution of Zimbabwe as we agreed to it in 2013. One of the basic principles we also agreed with was that the Constitution was so fundamental that it won't be altered, and that there were certain provisions that would not be altered without the consent and express consent and approval of the people of Zimbabwe. We put this in section 327 and section 328 of the Constitution of Zimbabwe. We said in section 327, this constitution cannot be amended easily. We said the term limits in this constitution cannot be amended without a referendum. Anyone who wants to amend the term limit provision will require a referendum to amend and remove the term limit. We said in section 328, if you do manage to succeed in a referendum to remove the term limit, that term limit will not benefit you as an incumbent. And we said, for it to benefit you as an incumbent, you have to go to another referendum. So 2 referendums are required to remove and to have a term limit removal benefit the incumbent. I will come back to these important principles and foundational principles that we agreed with. Zimbabwe is now at a historic crossroads. The nation faces a constitutional crisis that will determine whether we remain governed by the will of the people or slide back into unchecked executive dominance. The proposed amendments attack the existence of the social contract that has existed in Zimbabwe since the 18th of April 1980, when the Union Jack was lowered. That fundamental social construct was one based on the capacity and the ability of Zimbabweans to elect a government of their choice. That foundational principle was the ability and capacity of Zimbabweans to hold to account that government by punishing it or not punishing it after a period of 5 years. It is therefore sad to note that this consensus that I've referred to is now being sacrificed on the altar of greed, of avarice, and power hunger, sponsored and fueled by cartels, syndicates, and Shigananda that now totally control the Zimbabwean state. The collective commitment of 2013, embodied in the 2013 Constitution, to end authoritarian consolidation and usher in democratic governance is now under threat. Comrades and friends, ladies and gentlemen, if yesterday we faced the threat of a white man, today we face the threat of a black person hiding behind the guise of a constitutional amendment, which is in fact seeking to reverse our independence, which is in fact seeking to steal our birthright, which is in fact seeking to steal our nationhood as a people. Key elements of the proposed amendments include Parliament electing the President, extension of the presidential term to 7 years, appointment of 10 senators by the President, transfer of the voters' roll to the Registrar General, removal of delimitation from ZEC, scrapping public interviews of judicial appointments, weakening the constitutional mandate of the defense forces, and abolition of the Gender Commission. These changes collectively centralize power, weaken accountability, undermine electoral integrity, erode judicial independence, and roll back protections for women and marginalized groups. The proposal to allow Parliament to elect a president is a material and grave departure from the 2013 Constitution and cannot be done without negotiations, public discussions, and a referendum. Comrades and friends, those that are seeking to amend this Constitution in the manner that they are seeking to amend have no mandate and authority. The 2023 election was not fought on the basis of Mr. Mnangagwa and his party seeking a constitutional amendment to alter and remove the Constitution. The ZANU-PF manifesto of August 2023 makes no reference to constitutional amendments. Therefore, Mr. Mnangagwa, Mr. Ziyambi, and the 20 or so women who sat in that cabinet on the 10th of October 2026 have no authority derived from the people of Zimbabwe to alter or amend this constitution.
February, it must be February.
The belief in the regime that their proposed amendments can pass without two referendums is dishonest and pathological. The belief in the system, the belief in the regime that their proposed amendments can pass without two referenda is dishonest and pathological. Look at nozobvunza paya kuti kudhakwa here, kutoriro here, iguka here, kachasu here, inyawope here. The reintroduction of a type of registrar general to deal with voter registration and the removal of the task of delimitation from SEC is toxic and political. It is a reversal of the gains Zimbabweans made as enshrined in the 2013 constitution. Mr. Mnangagwa and his cabinet cannot take us back to square zero. The provision to allow traditional leaders to join political parties and to be partisan is dangerous and destructive. In African customary law, traditional leaders have been the custodians of African values, serving all citizens impartially and fairly, regardless of religion, race, and political affiliation. CDF is particularly alarmed by the proposal to weaken the constitutional duty of the Zimbabwe Defense Forces. The constitutional duty of the Zimbabwe Constitution of the Zimbabwe Defense Forces is to uphold and protect the Constitution. And the Constitution is the guarantee. That is why the Constitution makes it very clear in section 212 that the specific function of the Zimbabwe Defense Forces is to protect the Constitution and to uphold the Constitution. That cannot be taken away from them. Just like the function of the president and the cabinet is to uphold the Constitution, is to protect the Constitution. When Mr. Mnangagwa and his cabinet sit to make these vicious amendments on the Constitution, they are breaching the functions and obligations that they've been given in Part 5 of the Constitution of protecting the Constitution and upholding the Constitution. Therefore, their proposed amendment is treason. Their proposed amendments are breaching the Constitution of Zimbabwe that they took and swore oaths to uphold. CDF therefore unequivocally rejects Constitutional Amendment number 3 of 2026. Sovereignty belongs to the people of Zimbabwe, not cabinet or any political party. Any attempt to alter the Constitution of Zimbabwe in the manner proposed, and particularly without public consent in 2 referendum, is illegitimate and unlawful. In this regard, the CDF calls upon all Zimbabweans in the churches, in the communities, in the mines. We call upon trade unions, the teachers of our country, the farmers of our country, the war veterans, some of whom are gathered here, business leaders, you members of the 4th estate. It is time for all hands to be on deck to defend our sovereignty, to defend our independence, to defend our dignity, to defend our country, to defend our constitution, for it is all that we have. So the CDF and this convener of the CDF will work with others, will work with all Zimbabweans, and we will lead from the front. We will die for this constitution. We will be arrested for this constitution. We will exercise the rights that are provided for in our favor in the constitution, in particular section 57 of the constitution, which allows us to demonstrate, to petition peacefully. It is time for action, not tomorrow,
today,
not next year. It is time for action
now.
All of us together.
Now.
Namhla khathesi.
Namhla khathesi.
We call for unity of all Zimbabweans. It is no longer time for egos and personalities and characters. It is is a time that we all dissolve into the collective effort of defending our constitution. We all dissolve our baggages, our legacies, our toxic inheritance oftentimes, that we come together to defend our constitution, to protect our constitution from evil men and women who don't sleep daily, manufacturing suffering and gnashing of teeth against the citizen of the country. We will therefore push this agenda, the agenda to defend the constitution. We will alert regional and international community that Zimbabwe faces an imminent assault on constitutional democracy and demand principled attention. We will push for the formation of a broad constitutional Save Zimbabwe alliance. And as I said before, we will lead from the front. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen.
There is
I will take
a brave
some questions
statement
from you.
from Tendai Biti, that is the convener of CTF. Yes, the convener of the forum that seeks to defend the constitution. He has made it clear that Emerson Tambudzo Mnangagwa is after assaulting the democracy of Zimbabwe. He has made it quite clear that this is actually a betrayal to the liberation struggle. A statement that has been also buttressed by the Vice President of Zimbabwe, that is retired General Chiwenga, and he has equally vowed to defend the constitution alongside with the war veterans who were present in that press briefing. I think you can see the unity that exists between the progressive forces. It's no longer an opposition political, it's no longer now a one-man show, but now it is a matter of all Zimbabweans. And the Zimbabweans should stand together in unison. People should not stand in groups. Otherwise, we stand in groups, Mnangagwa may actually thrive. The moment is now for Zimbabweans at once at least to throw their egos and come together, and the agenda is to defend the constitution. And Tendai Biti has said we are not calling for protest tomorrow or yesterday, but we are calling for or next month or so. We have to start the protest now, peaceful protest to defend the constitution of the land. I think it should be the mandate of each and every person. He was essentially calling all sections of the society to join hands in defending the constitution. Thank you very much for watching us. If you are watching us for the very first time, please do remember to subscribe. You can financially support this channel by pressing the join button and be part of our members who are the heartbeat of this channel. You can equally do so by pressing the thanks button and send us stars.